What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are upgrading out here at our land. As you guys can see, we have cut down quite a lot of trees, both for firewood and for timber. We've hauled it out to the sawmill. We are ready to upgrade. You guys see this bad boy right here? We were able to spend some of our hard-earned money on it. Now, it was quite expensive. We ended up spending about $30,000 on this. But it is a brand new firewood processor. And on top of that, we did end up buying some firewood drying bins here, so we'll be able to store firewood in there and let it dry out efficiently. So let's get this baby set up. Alright, so drop the trailer off there, and we will just back this up and park this right here for now. Drop the trailer off right there. We got the truck parked right there, and I'm going to show you how we are actually going to be getting firewood up here. Before I get that thing fired up, we're actually going to go over here and pick up our skid steer. For those of you that may have missed the last episode, we did end up buying a skid steer here. We bought all kinds of attachments. This is an old one, and our truck did break down as it's sitting right there. We'll have to figure out how to get that back out of here in a later video. Let's go ahead and fire this up. Now, we've been doing a couple of different things. So, for example, we're going to get... The firewood processor here does have a method and a way actually to lift up the firewood and get it on the processing platform. Now, we've actually been taking logs like this that are small enough anyways, and we've been picking them up here with our skid steer, just like this right here, and we've actually been getting them over closer to the loading deck on this, which is actually on this other side here. So we'll go ahead and bring this over and drop it. We'll drop it right about there, works perfectly. We'll go back and pick up that other little smaller piece before I hit my truck. The little smaller piece and get it a little closer. Just like that right there. Now I'll bring this over here. And we'll drop it right there next to that one. Now I will park this just over here out of the way. So we do already have some trees dropped down. But I'm going to show you guys how we're doing it. We're actually getting out our big chainsaw and dropping the trees down just like this. We're going to try and make it fall back that way in between those trees, hopefully not on our equipment there. And cut it down just like this right here. Yellow timber, as we always do, and it falls straight back. But then after it falls, what we've been doing is we've actually been trimming off the tree branches, cutting them all off, trimming it up, and getting it as straight as possible, or as straight as a piece as possible. And then after it's been dropped and I've got all the branches trimmed off it like that, this is actually how we're getting this log closer to the tractor. Closer to the firewood processor. We've been doing a combination of trimming it up and cutting it smaller pieces, but we've actually been using our workhorse here. And we've been backing it up to the log and actually connecting chains to the tree and the truck and using this truck as a skidder. Now it has plenty of power. It is bulletproof 6.0. And it is four-wheel drive also, so it definitely has plenty of power. But of course, this isn't ideal. So we're definitely going to have to upgrade to some kind of more efficient way. But what we're doing is we are just pulling them up there. So we got the chain attached, and we're dragging that on up, and we'll get it close up here. And honestly, this truck really doesn't even feel it. Just like that, and then we disconnect our chains, and we've got them right here close by. We're running this back, attaching more of them, and dragging them all up there. And then what we'll do is we'll actually take our skid steer here and we will actually use it to help align these up in the firewood processor better and move them closer. Just like this right here. Now before we get too carried away with that, I know the one thing you guys are dying to see is let's actually see this processing firewood. We're going to go ahead and fire her up. We'll unfold her just like that. Oh yeah, that's nice. Alright, so we got our first one loaded. So let's go ahead and run the chain down and push her in. And then we will actually cut it right there. And cut it just like that. Drops down and push this. And then it'll actually pile up. And now I've got the conveyor belt on, so it will just drop. Just like that right there. And it'll stack up down there. Now, you guys know I like to save myself as much work as possible. And what we're actually going to do while we got quite a few trees here, we're actually going to take our truck and line it up perfectly underneath the conveyor belt there. And hopefully the firewood falling off the conveyor belt doesn't bust our back windshield. So I'm going to stop at something like that. Let's cut it again, cut the next one anyways, and see how well that works. So we'll move the log forward, and we'll go ahead and cut it right there like that. Let it drop down. And let's split that. One thing I like is it does split it into 4 sections there. Go ahead and move it forward again. Come all the way to the end. Like that. Push it forward. We'll keep doing that. All the way down to the end. Eventually we'll have enough. It'll actually start hitting the conveyor belt there. And keep going. Looks like we might get 2 more cuts out of it. down. Just like that, the last bit. Now I will say, this is absolutely cutting us firewood very, very quickly compared to the old way, and that looks like that way is actually going to work quite nicely. We did have a little bit of a jam up there, but it is falling perfectly down in the truck. Oh, hitting the window. Probably should have got a headache rack, but that's why I parked it the way I did. We can move this forward just a bit. And we got to unclog this firewood jam up right here. One thing's for sure that we have to do, we do need to cut these down into smaller sizes. So we'll keep doing this process on forward. And there we go, got another load going. I'm actually really digging this. Now one thing's for sure, this truck's only going to be able to hold so much. As well as, it's not meant to be dumped in like this. This is a truck after all, so hopefully we don't shatter the back window doing this. But if we can get a couple of loads out like this, we're going to upgrade. Alright, so after playing around with the controls, one thing I learned is you do have to cut the logs down into a right manageable size. So I already knew I was going to have to cut them, but now we got it pretty fine-tuned. You can actually pick up a log just like this, and it'll drop it onto the conveyor belt, and it gets ready for the very next one. Now, one thing's for sure, we're going to shut the engine off on this, because we are actually running out of room in our truck here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the mess here that we made, and we are going to deliver this load of firewood hopefully without losing too much. Now I did throw some straps on it, but I have a feeling we're still going to end up losing quite a good bit. So we'll watch from the back and see how much we end up losing. But one thing we're going to do, we're going to go pick up our trailer. We're going to sell this load of firewood. We're going to go pick up our trailer, get another load of firewood, and we're actually going to use the trailer, and we're going to actually haul some logs off to the sawmill once again and try to make some money that way too. So we're really going to maximize our profits today between selling firewood and selling actual logs for timber. Hopefully we don't tear this truck up too much using it as a skidder, pulling those logs up to the firewood processor. Alright, so we got that first load of firewood delivered and sold to a couple of clients. We've got our trailer connected up, and we're going to head back out to the farmland and cut down some more trees, get us some timber loaded, and get us another load of firewood. Alright, so right now I'm just going to drop this trailer pretty much out of the way for now. I'll probably drop it like right about here. That'll still give me some room to pull my truck up between the trailer and the firewood processor while I'm using it as a skidder. Oh, look at that wild deer out here checking out our situation and what we got going on. So now we're going to back up directly underneath here, try to get into a good spot where the firewood can be loaded perfectly into the bed of the truck. But there, looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and fire this baby back up. The conveyor belt going. And let's go ahead and do this. Now one thing's cool about this is I actually can get on a bit of a roll in terms of cutting it, dropping it, splitting it, and then getting on to the next one and moving it forward. It's actually pretty satisfying to do too, especially when you can get on a bit of a rhythm just like this. Now I do see a little bit of a bunch up happening, so perhaps I'm going a little too fast for that conveyor belt. One thing's for sure, this truck definitely gets loaded up pretty darn quickly. Now the part I like is how it loads the log itself. Now one thing I have noticed is down there at the trunk of the logs, you can kind of see where it's tapered off. I have been having to cut that off because it catches right here, as you guys will see. And actually it looks like, yep, just like that, it catches right there. So one good thing is when it catches, I can back it up and actually bring it out here to a safer spot, fire up my chainsaw, and cut that baby off into a manageable sized piece where we can pick it up by hand and actually just pick it up like this, bring it over and drop it down in here for it to get split next. Just like that right there. And now that log will actually fit on this machine, just like that. Very perfectly. Drop her onto the next one. As I said, this is actually a lot of fun. Just like that. Knocking her out. And after a couple of logs being split, we're getting very loaded, as you guys can tell. So let's try and clean up our mess here. Clean up all the firewood that actually fell out and getting it into the bed. Just like that right there. If there's any pieces left behind, we'll go ahead and leave them. And of course I got my straps thrown on there. Now we're going to carefully back up to our trailer. Connect up to it, just like that right there. And now we've got other logs. Not these, we're going to leave these behind and get them ready for the next load of firewood, as well as the next couple of logs out there. But we have quite a few logs here that we are actually going to load up on there. And we got our load of firewood loaded up. Now I did cut these a little bit smaller, so we should have saved some weight that way. And they sit perfectly on the flatbed trailer. Now I know between the firewood and these logs I have quite the load. So let's try to get these out of here safely, hopefully without losing them. Now I know one thing's for sure, I can't get over how absolutely powerful and how capable this 6.0 Power Stroke engine is in this truck. Now I am spinning a little bit right there, but the 4-wheel drive's doing just fine getting us up that hill. But honestly, this truck doesn't even notice this load behind us. Of course, you do see that it is squatted very, very much so. I mean, that's pretty good. And I do have a pretty light front end, it feels like. So I definitely have too much tongue weight. In terms of power, I mean, I can definitely tell that there's a lot of weight back there. But once those turbos spool up, man, they just really get going. Got to make sure I slow down big time for these turns, because this load is pretty top heavy. Now, hopefully I don't get stopped by a DOT officer, because obviously this won't be very good. Now, I don't have a very long way to go before I get to the sawmill, but still definitely don't want to get stopped by a DOT officer. Now, one thing I am really sad about is this is probably going to be one of the last loads timber of good wood that we're going to be able to sell to the sawmill. There might be one more load eventually on that property that we have. Everything else isn't very good trees. Everything else definitely is going to be cut for firewood, but that's okay. That means we're making progress, and that means we are just one step closer to actually having some livestock out. Alright, so we are almost there to the sawmill. Let's see how much we get for this load. These guys are probably laughing at me because I am working this truck to death. I mean, you can really see it swaying there when I actually come to a stop. I mean, all that weight. This truck is not happy with me. You gotta admit though, that does look pretty good. There we go, got $9,200. Now there was some imperfection in those logs, so they docked us a little bit there, but we got $9,200 out of it, so that's pretty good. Now, let's go ahead and head back to the farm, or head back to our house. We're going to drop this trailer off, and we're going to sell this firewood to the next clients. And what we're going to do next, we're actually going to do one more quick little upgrade that's going to really help us speed up this firewood process. And actually it'll be a really good upgrade for us just in general for our lawn care company and working on the farm. Alright, and we are here. And we're here, going to sell our firewood now. So we actually got quite a good bit of money for selling our firewood. I wanted to show you guys my very next investment, what we used all that money that we just made off of the firewood, the last couple loads of firewood, and the last load of timber. We finally bought us a large gooseneck dump trailer. Now this costed us almost $13,000. Now let's climb up here in the bed of my truck and we'll show you. Now this baby is going to do us very well, because right now we're going to use it mainly out here on the farm, cutting up all this firewood. Getting it in here, we'll be able to haul a lot more firewood with it. But this is a very heavy duty dump trailer, gooseneck pull, so we can pull a lot of weight with it, but it does also have ramps in it that can come out, and we can actually load heavy machinery and heavy equipment in there. Now this truck is only a 350, so I'm somewhat limited on what I can actually haul. I actually cannot haul the capacity, full capacity of this trailer with this truck, but we can haul a lot. So I'll show you guys. We'll get this log loaded up. Now we do have a little bit of a jam up there, but we'll probably be able to unjam it by tapping it here with this log, I do believe. Just like that right there, getting it moved on. Now let's go ahead and get that conveyor belt rolling and watch the first few pieces dump into the trailer from this angle. That's kind of a cool angle. And just like that, this is going to work very, very well. Now before we even get going, I want you guys to comment below. What do you guys think a full dump trailer like this worth of firewood is going to be worth for us selling? I want you to comment it below because I'm very excited to see ourselves. So let's go ahead and process up firewood here. Pieces cut. And let's get this trailer full. I'm very excited about it. We got to start making money on it pretty quickly. And I like doing it from this angle too, because you can really see everything going on. Just like that. And it's already holding more than what my truck could. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and keep loading this baby up just like that. Now there is a little bit of a bottleneck going on down there, and some of the firewood is falling off as I might be feeding it a little too fast, but that's alright. We'll be able to pick all the pieces up at the end. Let's at least keep trying to process all this. And I really think we're going to make a lot of money selling firewood like this. Now with the trailer getting a little full, we are going to have to move it forward just a little bit here. And then we'll continue to, or move it backwards, excuse me. And we'll continue to adjust the trailer as it gets loaded. Now one thing I did learn is some of these oddly shaped pieces like this right here can actually just be dropped right down into it. As long as they'll fit right down into the splitter, and you can actually start splitting part of it. And that actually works pretty well too. Now it does also cut these weirdly shaped pieces like this pretty well too. And actually it does it pretty easily and pretty fast. You know, those thicker logs take quite a long time. But like this right here, you can see we're moving through it pretty fast. So anyways, that is actually working out very, very well. We have already gotten a lot more in this than what we could in the bed of our trucks. So I'm very excited to see what a full load is going to take actually. And it just about all these trees that we're going to cut down. Now we're not going to completely cut down all of this, clear cut it, but we're going to cut down the majority of it and lots more there. Most of these trees left are all firewood trees. You know, none of them are going to be good for actually cutting for timber or anything like that. Almost completely loaded. Now one of the main reasons why I stopped loading it, not only do we make a mess there, but I've got all the firewood that we had there processed, but my game got very, very laggy there for a short period of time, and I do have a higher-end PC, so I'm assuming because of all these little pieces of firewood is why it got really, really laggy. So what we're actually going to do, we're going to call this somewhat fully loaded. We're actually going to go ahead and jump in our truck here and fire it up, and there you guys can see, it's actually really laggy. It looks like I'm going really low on frames. So let's go ahead and put straps all the way across, because I'm sure that's going to do us a lot of good. There we go, and now it straightens back up. And now it's not super laggy anymore, but I know as soon as I start moving, just like that, it gets very, very laggy. Oh man, I don't recommend doing this method. It's very heavy, both figuratively and literally. It's heavy on my resources on my computer, and it is quite heavy of a load. Now, just for the sake of this game crashing, just for the sake to make this easier, we've actually got customers coming that's going to pick us up here, because I really don't want to try and deliver this all the way back out there and the game end up crashing. We'll have to work on that. Right, so what I ended up doing, we do actually have a customer coming to pick it up. We did actually move the firewood selling point out here, and we're going to drop it off right here. Now it still will be quite very satisfying for us to back up and drop it off there, but for the sake of this game crashing and being corrupted, we're just going to back it up and drop it there instead of trying to drive this through the city, because I mean you can see how laggy it's getting right there. We'll go ahead and take our straps off, and this is going to be very, very entertaining, because for all I know this could crash the game. We're going to back it up right about there. So that's pretty close to the center right there. So let's go ahead and dump this and give it a try. So let's go ahead and dump this right here. And this is going to be quite entertaining. And there it goes. It is all falling out. Oh yeah, it's actually pretty satisfying to watch. Alright, that's all the way to the top. We're going to have to give her a little shake, back her up, and see if we can get it all to dump out. So throw it in reverse, hit the brakes pretty hard. We're going to keep shaking it, but I do want it to all relatively stay. There we go, now it's coming out pretty good. I do want it to all to relatively stay within this little sell point here. Then we're going to end up selling it just like that. That's quite the thumbnail right there, don't y'all agree? So as you can see up there in the top right, we are sitting on $24,000 in our bank account. Let's see how much this gets us. So we did have a little bit left there I needed to dump back out. We ended up making just over $20,000 off of all that firewood, so that's quite impressive. I know my computer is very happy with me now that we got rid of all that firewood out of there. It was definitely demanding on my resources. But anyways, I'm actually really digging this dump trailer here. This ended up being a very nice dump trailer, very nice investment. We're going to use this for several other things, like our other landscaping jobs and things like that. And we do have several other firewood. We are going to be making a couple more loads of firewood. We'll get the trailer set up in position yet again. Now, what's cool to think too is we're not going to be doing firewood forever. We're actually going to be doing livestock out here very, very soon. I'm thinking goats probably to start with, just to help us build the soil quality. Oh, look at that deer. He's a pretty happy feller. Not happy with us cutting down the trees, right? But just to help us build the soil quality, we're going to bring goats out here first. And we'll end up building up the soil. And we'll end up growing some crop out here eventually. But anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I know I enjoyed it a lot. Please smash that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already.